Good morning, everyone. Aloha kakahiaka. I'm your host, Peter K., and you have joined the Aloha Friday Hawaii Real Estate Show. If this is not Friday, the July 9th at 8:55 a.m., you are watching the pre-recorded version. So you can kind of fast forward about 5 minutes or so if you want to miss the pregame show, which is where we get to have a lot of fun with my friends. And my friends are here to join me. I'm here with Dylan Nonaka, who's from the Big Island. I'm here with Heidi Dollinger, who is from Maui, and I'm from cool dude Scott Startzman, who's got his cool dude shades on. Hey guys, so hey everybody, welcome. This is our little pregame show going on. Scott, the lighting, the circles, the circle, the LED circles have like put a really cool alien look on your face over there. So let's get our mics all warmed up. Let's kind of go in clockwise order. We'll go to Dylan and then Heidi and then Scott. So Dylan, Dylan, our ritualistic Aloha shirt setup and what's going on the Big Island.
Yeah, I got the Sig Zane, the fern pattern today. You can check that out.
Oh, ferns, cool.
Yeah, but Big Island's beautiful. Sun is shining. We had a lot of rain last night, so those mornings after a lot of rain are always beautiful, clear skies and green grass.
Just another gorgeous day in paradise. I saw the temperatures. I'll talk about it later in the news. That temperatures are just unbelievable. Heidi, what's the coffee du jour today? Good to see you. Welcome back to the show. Nice to see you back.
Thanks. This morning I'm drinking some vanilla macadamia nut coffee, and I just made it at home and I love it. No matter where I am in the world, drinking this coffee just brings me right back to Maui.
Nothing like a phenomenal cup of coffee to kind of bring you back to Hawaii, right? We got a couple of people who are joining us. Hey, Alex, welcome. Alex, aloha from California. And Sherman is with us from Tennessee. Hey, welcome back, Sherman. And Kelly Hobby Bishop is with us. Aloha from Eva Beach. Kelly is a member of the Islander Ohana. And Scott, she's got a question we're going to talk about later about real estate. She's got a really good real estate question for Oahu. And yeah, Tom, we're digging the shade. Scott, you started something new. There's a new tag. There's a new trend that you're starting on. And Chris Berger is with us. Hey, Chris, welcome back, buddy. Hi, Peter. Love the show and content. Hey, Chris, we love the fact that you are here. So, okay, Scott, you have to answer the great mystery. What's up with the glasses? What's going on? How's it? What's happening?
Well, it's summertime now. The temperatures heated up, and the real estate market's red hot too. So I needed some shades for today, just to kind of, cool things off, reflect a lot of that temperature that's going on. So just thought I'd start off the show with those this morning. Something a little different.
Well, you're definitely Mr. Cool. There's no doubt about that. You're definitely. I was gonna almost say, if I didn't want to. Almost say to put them back on, but I much rather have some sense of eye contact.
I got to balance out Dylan's Aloha shirts over there. So
yeah.
And Heidi always outshines us. So
well, Heidi wins by default no matter what. That this we all know. That's not even a question. I'm sure the audience agrees, right, folks? Scott, what's your Aloha shirt pattern? Just to talk about our Aloha, you got a nice one on. I like it.
Yeah, I actually don't know. I don't know what this leaf is. I don't know the name of it. But it's a pretty cool print.
It looks like a monstera. It looks like a monstera plant, right, Dylan? Which thing?
Yeah, it looks like monstera.
It's a monstera plant. Yeah. I got a big one of those in my backyard. We have a few of them. Cool. Yeah, excellent. Let's see. We got some more friends who are coming in. Let's see. So Tom loves the shades. Joan, welcome back, Joan. Joan comes back to us every week from Colorado Springs. Great. Charles, good to see you too, buddy. And Kinaya is with us back to Austin. So Kinaya is also a member of the Islander Ohana. In fact, we had a great meetup. And Scott was there. We all met up at Makapu'u Beach. This was a Islander Ohana exclusive. It was awesome. Kelly Bishop was there. Kinaya was there. Scott was there. Few other folks let's see if they're going to show up over here. We're over there, and we just had a great time. It was fun. We hung out at Makapu'u Beach.
We got some body surfing in. You and I did.
Got a little. It was baby waves. Got a little body surfing in, and of course, being living in Hawaii for 37 years. Of course, this time I got sunburned. The dumbest of all things. It didn't put enough, sunscreen on. I was too excited to meet everybody as I just burned myself. But anyway, Juliana's with us. Welcome, Juliana. Aloha. And of course, Auntie Joyce. Welcome back, Auntie Joyce. Yawn is a scream for Kona Coffee. I got it. All is good. Yeah. Here's to you, Auntie Joyce. Thanks for joining us. And yeah, right tonight, it was wonderful. It was really, really cool. It was really fun to kind of, we had two cohorts worth of folks over there. And, we had, previously met online, just kind of like the way we're meeting here over Google Meet. And it was really good to meet everybody in person. All right. It's the magic hour. The 5 minutes have gone by. Let's get back to the regular program over here. So I want to welcome you all, and let's talk about some news over here. So a couple of things. That the big news: vaxxers are freed. So as of yesterday, July 8th, Hawaii will allow U.S. travelers who have been fully vaccinated to anywhere in the United States to skip quarantine without getting a COVID test. You heard it right. If you're fully vaccinated and you have your vaccination card, you can skip the quarantine process, and anyone in the United States, which is phenomenal. And by definitions here, fully vaccinated means that you have gotten both shots of your Pfizer or Moderna or your single Johnson & Johnson, and you have waited at least 15 days after the second shot, or the last shot if it's Johnson & Johnson. So that is huge news, big deal, where we are inching our way to opening back up. Housing market is still booming. We're going to talk about that, I'm sure, but nothing, almost the same thing. It's there was a report that the median price for a single-family home surged 27% to a record $979,000 last month. This is for the island of Oahu, compared with $770,000 a year earlier. And the quote was from a good friend of mine, very well-known economist Paul Brubaker. He said, "All of a sudden, everybody wants a single-family home, and nobody wants to sell theirs." Which, if you've been following the show, that's exactly what we've been telling you all. So that's exactly what the situation is. Kauai is good. If you want to go back to Kauai, their housing bubble, their travel bubble policy has popped. Travel bubble is you had to kind of go in, you had to quarantine yourself at a resort and stay there for a couple of weeks or something like that. I don't know the details, but anyway, that's over. So they have moved to tier 5, what we call tier 5, and they've eased restrictions. And so you want to go check that out. But Kauai is a lot freer than it used to be. So that's the cool part about that. All right. What do we else? We got higher hotel taxes are coming. Look, if you're planning on coming to Hawaii, you should make your reservations like right away, because we will soon be, if we are not already there, the highest accommodations taxed state in the country. There's been a bunch of laws, and I don't want to get into the weeds over here, but a bunch of things have occurred, and higher taxes are going to be coming to all the higher hotel taxes are going to be coming. I believe right now the hotel tax is 10%, which is, you could, whatever that is, I don't know how that stacks up rest of the country, but it's going to go up considerably more. Counties are going to be adding their own additional taxes on top of the 10% accommodations tax. So if you want to get in the cheapest rate, it's going to be now. And then finally, a surprising story for me is the Big Island. Big Island got cleanest air, the cleanest air award. It took Hawaii Island takes 7 of the top 10 spots for the cleanest air in North America. The number 1 spot of the cleanest air in North America is Waimea, Hawaii. Waimea is my absolute favorite place on the Big Island, but I was rather surprised. I didn't think that the Big Island was going to get it, Dylan, because of the volcano and things like that. Not the case. So if you want clean air, cleanest air, that's on the Big Island. All right, and then finally, I'm going to bring your attention. Let me zoom this up over here. Take a look at that weather forecast from today until next week Thursday. Look at that, 78 degrees every day in July in Hawaii as the high. The lows at night 69. Folks, if that isn't perfect weather, you're going to have to tell me what is, because that is damn perfect weather. All right, so that's my news update for today. Why don't we go let's go counterclockwise around over here, and let's kind of see if there's any. We'll talk about the real estate stuff later. Scott, any news, any kind of worthy news that pops out in your head that I missed about, that you want to kind of share about Oahu?
Yeah, it's actually National Sugar Cookie Day, in case we didn't know. And I made the trek across the street to Diamond Head Market and Grill to get I actually got one of their scones. Have you ever had one of their scones? They're famous for it. In fact, the guy in front of me this morning had 24 scones in his thing. They're not as dry as most others. They probably have a full stick of butter and probably a cup of sugar per scone, but they also have cream cheese and blueberry in them. So it was either that or Leonard's Bakery for a malasada because I couldn't get a sugar cookie. So.
Leonard's Bakery, Malasadas. Islander Ohana, when we all met at Makapu'u, one of the members of the Islander Ohana brought over 24 malasadas. So I brought the coffee. I had Starbucks coffee and malasadas on Makapu'u Beach.
I did want to bring one other thing up. So I went furniture shopping this past weekend just to try to kind of take a look at things. And what's funny is I'm finding in the balancing act on some of the renovation stuff that I'm doing, construction work, I'm having whatever I look at, I may like, but I'm having to ask, what's your lead time on this stuff, right? On the construction materials. So you're actually having to pick out your materials based on what's available and what you like. There's a balancing act. So I asked, hey, what's the lead time on the furniture and some of the stuff they have in the warehouse? But there was a couple of things I'm like, wow, I really like that. Do you have that in stock? And they said, you're number 19 on the list. We're minimum 4 months out and we get 6 in per month. And I was like, wow. So we're seeing the same issues across the board in all sectors.
Yeah, and it's amazing. This thing has kind of thrown us off completely. Hey, I want to give a quick shout out to Michael. Michael, hey, he's going. Michael, you're going to go back to Hapuna despite the high wind hurricanes and dangerous flying umbrellas, missiles. Yeah, welcome back, buddy. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it. Hapuna is. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mike, I don't know if you were here that one episode where Hapuna was declared by Mr. Beach the best beach in the country. If I'm not mistaken, Heidi, give us the latest. What's some news? A lot of stuff going on in Maui. There's a lot of pushback on tourism. Whatever. What else? What have you caught that's newsworthy, Heidi, that you want to share from Maui?
Well, on Maui, the mayor of Maui, Mayor Victorino, made a statement that was picked up by a lot of news sources. Saying that basically he wants a pause on tourism and he's working with the airline executives to limit flights. I don't know if he can do this or not, but just really try to restore a balance. We love tourists here on Maui, but there's also something called over tourism where it can just be too much. And if there's too many people, if there's too much traffic, that takes away from what's really special and beautiful about being here. And then of course, the mayor is looking out for the interests of the local people that live here too. He said something along the lines, this is a community first and a tourist destination second. And I think that's really important for visitors to keep in mind too when they're visiting a place, is just have respect for where you are. There's some cases where visitors are, they're seeing cool things on Instagram and trespassing on private land, and that tends to upset people after a while if it just gets to be too much. So we're trying to keep a good balance here.
Yeah, I think that's going to be one of the big questions as we go forward through the tourism. There's a huge boom right now. I think we're past one article I shared last week. I think if not the week before, our last show was tourism is above pre-COVID times. And so we'll see how that's going to go. We had a bunch of comments that are popping in before. Dylan, before we go to you and kind of share these. So Charles says, yeah, same thing with the couch. To what your point was, Scott, was able to get 2/3 of our couch on the same day, but the other 1/3 we couldn't get until a month and a half later, and we're like number 30 on the list. Yeah, so it's not just that, it's couches too. Auntie Joyce, same issues. Kitchen cabinets can be double the time you receive. Luckily, they were already on the ship. Hey, Gil, welcome back, Gil. Happy Aloha Friday. Joan Valentine, yeah, long waits for furniture. Same on the mainland. So, and Christy Sam, welcome, Christy Sam, helping Aloha Friday. Oh, I like that. Aloha Friday. That's a cool idea too. Yeah. So, Dylan, what's the latest news on the Big Island that you'd like to kind of catch everybody up on?
Similar to what Heidi was saying, one of the news stories that came out this week was that there's one of our most popular snorkeling beaches, Kahalu. There's a nice protected bay and there's a nice little surf spot on the north side of it. And I went by this past weekend and there was literally like over 100 people in the water on longboards, because all of these surf schools are now using that bay because it's a nice kind of mellow wave in Kona to run their surf school. And it just looked totally ridiculous, like how many people are out in the water. And it's just interesting that I think looking back, what one of these things that COVID has done is it's changed our perspective on people and what our community looks like, because the reality was, I mean, these are the same amount of people that were here 2 years ago, 18 months ago, right? I mean, it's not like there's like a 50% increase or anything like that. Like you were saying, we're kind of back to our normal numbers. So everybody got spoiled and used to kind of empty roads and empty restaurants and empty beaches. And now we're kind of back, and it's shocking to people. It's funny that we're going back to normal and that people don't like it anymore. Right? So it's an interesting perspective and dynamic that's happening in the community.
That's a really good point. That's a really, really good point. And I agree with you. I think we were spoiled, and now that we're seeing the crowds backing, we're like, hey, wait a minute, so and there is going to be, well, it's already started. There have been many conversations about, what's the right balance of tourism. Heidi, to your point, the mayor made those statements, wants to limit things. So it'll be interesting to kind of see what they're going to do. Go ahead, Dylan.
Yeah. And, something that's always been frustrating to me, I mean, you notice, Peter, we've had this discussion many a times, is that we complain about this stuff, and then government, says, elected officials complain about it, but there has been zero effort in the last 30 years in Hawaii to do anything to diversify our economy, right? I mean, we complain about it and we tax tourists more, but there's there's no effort at all, no political will to do anything to transform the way that our economy works and the way that we generate revenue and the way that we create jobs. Where in Hawaii, we have all of these amazing resources, right? We have astronomy, we have volcanology, we have agriculture, we got marine sciences. I mean, just amazing stuff that you could build a cleaner, higher tech industry around, that does research, that does development. I mean, all kinds of different things. And instead, we continue to focus on building hotels, and so people should stop, either, if you don't like the way it is, elect people who will do something about it, because the people who are getting elected right now have had 50 years to change it and have done nothing about it. So
that's going to be a topic for the Aloha Friday Hawaii political show.
Not to get too political.
This is the Aloha Friday real estate show. But hey, what do you all think? Should we start a show, an alternating show, talk about politics? Let us know. Throw it in the comments. Maybe we'll do it. For those who dare, we'll.
And the best example is the tax increase, right? In most states, the legislature passes a tax increase, and the governor vetoes it because the legislature knows that they can just say, "Oh, we passed the tax increase, but the governor vetoed it. Sorry, we couldn't support this thing or that thing." In our state, they pass the tax increase, it gets vetoed, and then they override the veto to make sure that the tax increase gets implemented. So there you go.
So let me say that a little bit slower so everybody understands it. So what happened, everyone, is that the legislature had proposed this tax increase possibility for accommodations hotels. The governor vetoes the tax increase, right? And the legislature, by a 2/3 majority, overrided the governor on a tax increase. I don't think we've ever had an override on a tax increase. That just does not happen. But you know what? Stuff happens, right? Stuff happens. All right. Let's move on. Let's go to the. Let's move on to so Kelly Hobby says, yeah. Well, Kelly, we'll and Alex says, all right. Well, maybe we'll do it. I'm afraid to do a political show because people don't know this, Dylan, about you and I, but you and I have you more than me, but we both have a political political background. Dylan ran some campaigns, and I worked. That's how you and I first met. In fact, we met running on the political campaign trail. All right. Anyway, let's move on. Let's go to let's do our. I want to go on to a real estate market update. It's been a while since we kind of talked about kind of what's going on with the market, and I think. Gang, the themes have always been the same. You just heard me mention that the median price is going up. I guess the question I've got for you all is, what's changing? What's changing? Because we know the market, Dylan, is really funny. Somebody somewhere else on one of the Facebook posts in our group, I forgot, quoted you saying the market's bananas. So your bananas quote is getting far widespread use, and it's getting viral. But let's maybe talk about kind of what's been changing. What do you see as changes in the market? Why don't we do this? Why don't we go, let's go Heidi, and then Dylan, and then Scott. What's been changing, Heidi, that you've seen in what changes in the real estate market have been occurring, let's say over the past month or so, if any?
Well, I would say two things. One, there are a lot of people doing 1031 exchanges right now, selling investment properties, often on the mainland in other states, and then buying investment properties or rental properties on Maui. There's some concern that the rules surrounding 1031 exchange are going to change. So there's a lot of that activity going on right now. The other thing I've noticed is there seems to be some more residential condos coming to the market, residential meaning full-time residents do not allow vacation rentals. And it seems like because we're coming to the end of the eviction moratorium and, we're kind of through this COVID period, owners of these condos are feeling more comfortable. I mean, letting their tenants move on, or maybe the tenants are wanting to move on their own. And they just want to take advantage of all the price appreciation that's occurred recently. So, I mean, we are seeing some more listings in those kind of $500,000 condos that we haven't had for a while.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Heidi, for the update. Hey, a quick break over here. So we have a couple of comments. So let me put all your fears to rest. Gil says no politics, please. I've suffered enough from the last presidency already. Auntie Joyce, do not do a political show. We like the peace here and don't want to be like the mainland. So let me put it all to rest. We are not doing a political show. In fact, what I've mentioned earlier is that this is a fun place where it's politics free. We're going to enjoy the beauty of Hawaii and take questions about Hawaii and whatever you want to know about Hawaii, about real estate, etc. We're not doing politics, so don't you all worry. We are not going to do politics. All right. Next up, Dylan. What has been some changes that you've seen on the Big Island say over the past month? How do you see the market morphing?
I'm in this national real estate group that we meet on Fridays and just kind of discuss what's going on all across the country. And people are saying, "Oh, I'm seeing more inventory in my market, or things are slowing down in my market." And my comment was, that what's changing is instead of having to go 25 to 50,000 over asking price, you need to go 50 to 75,000 over asking price to get a house right now. So it's not slowing down. If anything, we're actually at the lowest number of active homes on the market right now than we have seen all year. So the inventory continues to shrink. The big data point that I saw this week was in June, the average condo price cracked 100%. So it was 100.29% for the average list to sold price for condos. So condos are selling on average above 100% of the list price. So continues to be on fire, continues to be bananas. And the thing that we are seeing, if you want to interpret a slowdown, is we peaked in April in terms of the number of properties that are selling. So it's coming down the last couple of months, but that's pretty much due to no inventory, right? I mean, it's not really due to the market slowing down. It's just there's not as many homes on the market to sell. So I don't know. If anything, it's getting hotter. If you're asking.
So the change is it's getting hotter. The change is more bananas. We're having more bananas.
Yeah, I mean, just anecdotal. I put a house on the market last week. We had 11 offers, 9 of them over asking price, most of them 50 to 70,000 over. I mean, so it was, it was and this is one thing that's different, right? And this is what's going to slow the market down, is depending on the listing agent, right? My philosophy as a listing agent is I'm going to price the property fairly. If buyers want to overpay for it or pay more than what the fair price is, let them decide, right? And so there are some sellers who are being really aggressive with their price, and those homes are sitting. They're not selling right away because they're being unreasonable with price, and buyers are not going to be, unreasonable. So that's what we're seeing, is if a property's priced properly, tons of activity, 3 days of open houses, and there's constantly, people in every single minute of the day, and then tons and tons of offers. So still nuts.
So still nuts and more bananas. So Scott, you saw that quote I get from Paul Brubaker, who I know that you're familiar with as well. He's very well known in real estate circles. The quote was perfect. Brubaker's quote was, "The thing is that all of a sudden everybody wants to buy a single family home and nobody wants to sell theirs, and that's the problem." Scott, what's been changing? What have you been kind of seeing changes on Oahu's real estate market?
Yeah, so I got really excited for this one. So, I dove into things. I dove into numbers from 2019 and 2021. So I'll give you some quick ones. But yeah, we were up 27% this past month. And year to date, we're up 21% in price on the single family home side. So yeah, it's getting worse. So if you're waiting to buy, don't wait. It's not going to get any better for you in the near future. It's actually getting worse. Days on market is 8 days. A home comes on the market, it's in escrow in 8 days or less on average. And what Dylan was saying about list to sales price ratio, we're actually at 104% list to sales price ratio over here. So on average, the sellers are getting 4% more than what they're listing it for. Sales from June in 2019 to June 2021 are only up 21%. But the interesting thing is the active listings are off 50% and the pending sales, which are escrows, are up 50%. So that's an indication for me. Pending sales or escrow activity that's going on now, it's not getting better. It's getting worse on the single family home side. So keep an eye on that. The condo, and I'll give you an example. I brought a Ocean Point home on last week, had 3 days fully open house, 11 offers. We're in escrow 120,000 over asking. We came on the market at $1,055,000. I actually moved. The guy that got into first position was not in first position at first. What I did, collected all the offers, then I started communicating and moving people where I need them to go, adjusting their contracts. And he came in, ended up, well over $100,000 over asking. So that gives you an idea that single family home side, we're easily looking at $75,000, $100,000 over asking. The condo side, though, is, to me, it's still a value, but it's getting ready to change. So if you want a good value, that you go into the condo side here, and in particular the high rise side, because prices are only up 6.1% and year to date. And if you look at interest rates dropped last year, and in order to offset that drop in the interest rate, prices would have had to have gone up 17.5%. So you're actually getting a discount in the value on the condo side, but the inventory is dropping significantly. The active listings are down 32%. And the pending sales are up 60%. So the movement is happening to the condo side. The price hasn't changed that much, but it's going to here soon. So if you want a good deal, go into the condo side.
That's great advice. So so this is what I really love about what we've been doing over here over, the year plus that we've been doing the show, is that we've always been kind of analyzing the market, and, I can't think of any time when the things that we've told people, hey, we see this happening, did not happen. In other words, I can't see when our predictions. Now we're going to be wrong sooner or later. We're going to be wrong one day, but we haven't been wrong yet. So it's going to happen, but it hasn't happened yet. And I think you just gave a leading. So what I heard you say on the leading indicator for the condos, well, here's what I'm hearing. I'm hearing that home prices are just, going through the roof. Think about that. It's like $100,000 over listing. It used to be that, a long time ago, you could have bought a home for $100,000. Now that that's just the increase over the listing price. But anyway, go ahead.
To give some perspective on what that means, I haven't gotten a single contract in escrow on a single family home without going over asking and having a good appraisal clause contingency in there. If you don't have that combination, it's hard to compete in this market right now. So that those numbers relate to that.
Yeah. So I'm just kind of hearing basically, the crowded conditions, the premium conditions for single family homes are forcing people to kind of consider condos, and that's why the condos are heating up, but they're still kind of at a discount, which is cool. All right. Hey, so let's, Kelly, we're gonna talk to you about your stuff in just a sec. Kelly just registered my business. Kelly just is a member of the Islander Ohana and just moved here successfully. Registered my business and learning more about the taxes and GET. Awesome. Hey, Kelly, could I count as your first Hawaii customer? Because Kelly helped us do redo our logo. I haven't published it yet on the page here, but if you go to our website, if you actually go to livinginhawaii.com, you'll see I redesigned the website completely from top to bottom, and I have Kelly's awesome work on the logo. So thank you, Kelly. Joan Valentine, why don't they build less hotels and more condos? Yeah, well, we're going to find out, Kelly. Joan, it's the market's going to change. There's been no construction. There's been essentially no new construction for the longest time, and I think for all practical purposes, certainly hotels aren't being built. More condos probably. But yeah, hey, so let's see. Let's do this. I was Jim. I was going to put out the where's Jim, the where's Jim thing here, and Jim is here, and he's happy. Aloha kakahiaka, Jim, and he's happy to see Heidi, which is cool, awesome. And let's see. Quick question: since people are paying above asking, does that then become the new value for that property? Yeah. Scott's nodding. That is that becomes the value. That's what the appraised, the values start going up. Is that correct, Scott? Yeah.
The simple definition of market value is what a buyer is willing to buy it for and a seller is willing to sell it for. So
that's it.
Yeah.
That is it.
It's just more justifiable at that point. Once you see another one that just sold, oh, that one sold at that price. Well, that means this one's got to be worth it. It's easier to justify in your mind.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. Is the competition on the housing market the same for all the islands, or are there significant differences? Well, Gil, not from what I'm hearing. Not from what I'm hearing from Dylan's. It's banana. We have bananas on the Big Island. We have bananas on the on Oahu, and we have bananas on Maui. There's bananas on every island. So Kauai is underrepresented. Kauai is not represented here because we don't have enough people who want to know about Kauai. But
my contacts on Kauai are constantly sending me leads that people who want to buy on Kauai, but they can only afford $700,000. There's nothing for them to buy, so they're saying go look on the Big Island. So
there you go. There you go.
Yeah.
All right. Hey, let's move on. We got so Kelly had submitted a slide earlier, and I want to kind of hit that one now. So thank you, Kelly, for submitting this. And here's Kelly Hobby's question. Kelly Hobby asks, I'm looking to purchase land in Oahu. Do you have any insight or advice going about it? And what are the differences between a home loan and a land loan? So Scott, how would you address Kelly's question about buying land versus home? What's the feasibility? Presumably, Kelly, I didn't have any details from you, but presumably you're buying land because you want to build a home on it. I think we've advised against that, but maybe share with us in the comment if you're looking to get a farm or anyway. But Scott, what would you tell Kelly who's looking to buy land on Oahu?
Yeah, I mean, land gets a lot more complicated. The banks, there's less to collateralize, and the banks, you gotta show that you qualify more, have significantly more down. I actually have an ag lot that's listed for sale and gets even way more complicated, and COVID complicated it as well. And then you got building construction costs that are going to complicate that in the whole building process. So land loans, you need significantly more money down, usually 25% down. When you get into the construction loan component, that gets to be, I try to avoid them just because the costs that are involved. The bank will require you to get AIA approved, Institute of Architect approved documents or plans to work with, which cost you more than a general draftsman or somebody else. Then every time you go to finish a phase, and the bank is going to need to pay that contractor, appraiser has to go out, basically verify that it's been done. There's an appraisal cost. You end up having like 5 or 6 of those throughout a construction component, which the contractors are then also required to get bonding. There's an insurance component, which you should be doing anyway, but you really are put in this tight box, and even the contractors are going to charge more because of the complexity of the components. But most people have to do it because they don't have the cash to go do that. I try to borrow off of other properties to free up the cash to do that, so I can cut some of the costs in corners. But it does get significantly more complicated. And then you're going to draw out the process because you're going to buy the land, then you're going to go through design, permitting, construction. You're talking probably 2 years to get to the point of being finished. So do you want to go through that? Are you wanting to go through that pain and some of the details that go along with that?
I'm hearing, okay, so thank you. Scott, what I'm hearing about this is that big pain in the okole, big pain in the okole to you all can go look up what okole means. You can probably guess. It's the Hawaiian word for that. So big pain in the okole to buy land and then build a house on it. Is it different to do that versus buying a horrible fixer-upper and just a terrible property and just raising it and kind of rebuilding a home, on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and there's actually some banks. I've done this because I go down this route a lot, right? In fact, if you look at my Facebook page last night, I just posted the before project of the 2 hoarder houses I bought, the remodel, and then the tear down and redo. And you can get really creative. There's some local banks and institutions here that can get really creative with not only lower down, but being able to finance that purchase. And then it's way easier to go in and do things like slap lipstick on a pig, if you want to call it, for a little while, paint, flooring, things such as that. Once you get into your structural components, roofing, walls, foundation, that gets to be really difficult, and it's not easy to find the people, and it can be really costly.
Yeah, great. So Kelly's been giving us some feedback over here, and then we're going to move on. So Kelly, thanks for the feedback. I'm open to ag, leaning towards cash offer over loan. Now seeing all the restrictions, right? Exactly, Kelly, and also open to fixers. So So Kelly, there's a couple of options. Hope that answered kind of your questions. Thanks for the submission, and everybody, you got the form. There's a link in the description. Click on the link, put in the form, put in your question, and I'll pull up your slide when you come around. Hope we got that, Kelly. Hope that answered at least the initial parts of your questions. And of course, you're a member of the Islander Ohana, so reach out to Scott whenever you're ready. Let's see. And Kinaya agrees. Kinaya agrees with she gives us a 3 bananas. A 3 bananas rating. Yeah, there's bananas everywhere. So Kinaya is also a member of the Islander Ohana. She's great. Met her and her family at Makapu Beach. Was great. And yeah, you're very welcome, Kelly. We're glad to help. All right. Let me get back to our original slide deck over here, and let's do. All right. Let's kind of hit another. Oh, just real quick, I want to give everybody a quick heads up. So wanted to, if you haven't already gone there, if you did not come here through an email invitation that I send out every Wednesday, it means you're not on the list. Get on the list. livinginhawaii.com. Go there. You'll have a chance to register. A thing will pop up where you can put in your email address and get on the newsletter. If you scroll down, there's a couple of places. Get on the newsletter. We're going to be our next cohort. So we've gone through 2 cohorts of Islander Ohana members. It's been a phenomenal experience. People have moved to Hawaii. It's helped them move to Hawaii, which is what the whole thing is all about. And we had a great time. So I'll let the Islander Ohana members speak to their the quality of their experience. The next cohort is going to be coming up in the fall. So I haven't sent out the invite yet, but make sure you're on the list. I'm going to send out the invite, and we're going to start the fall cohort. It's going to start in September, and that's going to go for a 5-week period. So I just want to give you all a quick heads up on that. All right, let's move on. So we got this question here. So Heidi, we're going to get this one. Have you kind of start the discussion on this one, and it's kind of related to what we just talked about, right? Tourism's impact on the real estate market. So Jason Rogers from Knoxville, Tennessee says, what impact does tourism have on the real estate market in Hawaii? So this is kind of a big question that's going to allow us to talk about a lot of different things. But why don't you lead off on the discussion on that, Heidi? How have you seen tourism impacting the real estate market?
Well, tourism's been the most powerful industry on Maui for the last 50 years. According to Maui County's website, 80% of every dollar is generated directly or indirectly through tourism. So, I mean, it's naturally going to have a huge impact on the real estate market because so many local residents are earning their income in this industry. I mean, it also brings a new influx of people daily who are introduced to the island. I mean, that's how a lot of us came here originally, as coming to Maui or Hawaii on vacation and falling in love with it and then moving here. So, I mean, it's naturally going to have a huge impact.
Yeah, massive impact. Scott, what have you seen? Oahu has gone through all kinds of issues with, to Heidi's point, short-term vacation rentals have been kind of a big, well, on Oahu, it's been a big mess, right? It's been a big mess. And now there's this Bill 89 that's kind of trying to clamp it down. And so you have people that are creating Airbnbs in residential areas, and the residents aren't too happy because they don't want to see their next door neighbor's house turn into a hotel room. You've got, all that kind of stuff. Speak to what you see, the dynamics of how has tourism sort of impacted Oahu, and how is it kind of changing the market around, making it better or worse for condos or short-term vacation rentals or what have you?
Well, Oahu, I think, is pretty much the only island that hasn't really added hotels in I don't know how many years. We don't really have much of the space for it, other than out Ko'olina. There's a couple of lots there that they could build out on. So to me, Bill 89 was a big mistake. You just eliminated a large number of tourists that can come here by getting rid of a ton of vacation rentals, Airbnbs, VRBOs. Even though they weren't legal to begin with, the enforcement changed and got much more restrictive and much more in favor of the government. So yeah, I think we're going through an interesting dynamic change. I mean, the tourism economy, I think, is like 21% of the state's economy. So yeah, it's 1/5. So we're going to have a significant impact. And we always said in my CCIM, my commercial investment classes, if you want an economy to grow, you have to export. We export the tourism experience. The people come in, they leave their money here based on that tourism experience and go away. So, and it's a big part of our economy and helping it grow. And it provides a lot of jobs and in the service sector and things. And so, yeah, it's got a direct impact in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it's. I think that there's going to be some interesting dynamics going on now with this bill A9. Just to get everybody up to speed, Bill A9 has been a bill that has significantly restricted the inventory of Airbnbs and VRBOs. It dramatically changed. It was kind of almost like the Wild West before that. Something had to happen, unfortunately, and it's been bizarre. So Dylan, what have you? How is the real estate market? Again, what has been the impact of sort of the tourism on the way that the market has been shifting? Again, I'm looking at the short-term rental issue, or the VRBO thing, or things of that nature. What's been the impact on the Big Island?
Well, there's clearly been a direct correlation, right? As soon as they opened the state back up in October, November for travel and tourism, the real estate market went insane, right? So, and we saw like the highest numbers of closings in the first quarter of this year. So tourism is the gateway drug to being addicted to becoming a resident of Hawaii, right? I mean, there's a direct correlation. I mean, you don't move to Hawaii unless you visited here once or twice or 25 times, right?
It's kind of what Heidi said a little while ago. Exactly right.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and there's a whole different scale, right? There are other people who come one time and say, this is where I want to be, and then they make the move. And there's other people who come for 20 years and then say, it's always their dream to retire, and they plan that out and they work towards it and they make it happen at some point later on in life. But yeah, there's a direct impact. I mean, it's the way that you learn about the place and decide that that's where you want to be. So if with the whole COVID thing, we saw that. I mean, there was a direct correlation with, as soon as tourism opened back up, there was a flood of new real estate activity.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Hawaii is going to have an interesting future to kind of chart out, because now that we've seen the before and after of the tourism, on one hand, we don't want the crowds, but on the other hand, I don't think this state's going to want to see a lot of people unemployed and leaving if we kind of significantly pull back on tourism. Like, for example, Heidi, it'd be really interesting to kind of see what happens on Maui if like tourism stops. I don't know if that would be a good thing, because I think the federal funds are kind of dried up. So kind of like careful what you wish for. Jim's got a comment. Recovering from Tropical Storm Elsa, we got hit hard here in New York City. Yeah, New York City's got a lot of different economies. I mean, New York City also has the financial sector, etc. But certainly tourism was part of it. Auntie Joyce says, exactly why we moved here. Had visited other islands for holidays, but after 4 years visiting Kailua Kona, we knew it was where we wanted to be. Yeah, exactly, Auntie Joyce. Great example. Hey, folks, so we're going to keep moving on. We got some slides that we're going to be moving on with. I wanted to kind of tell you all, it's 38 minutes after the hour. Put in your questions. If you got some questions that you'd like us to address on the show live, pop them in the comments right now. We want to see them so I could bring them up. Otherwise, we're going to move on a little bit, and then we're going to shift to talk about the market. First, I've got another question over this week. Dylan, why don't you get this one started over here? So this is from Kim in Springfield, Illinois, who asked about, we're looking to move to the Big Island, and we've stayed in different parts of the island between Captain Cook and North Hilo. Which area has the best internet service? Or is there a part of the island that is best? I will be working from home and need reliable service. So Dylan, where would you, if Kim over here, she's, between North Hilo versus Captain Cook, those are two different sides of the island. Where would you say, where would be a good place, and perhaps, where would you want to avoid on the Big Island for internet service? You're muted.
That's a really hard question to answer generally, because within those areas, you have sub areas that are more rural and less rural, right? So in general, if you're along a main highway in a densely populated area, you're going to have great internet. I mean, the internet service is pretty widespread across the island, but you can be a half mile off the highway up in the bushes and, not have municipal water, not have electricity service, and not have hardwired internet service. So you really got to take it property by property and then decide on, if you're just going to live in a regular neighborhood, single family home, pretty straightforward, pretty much anywhere you go is going to have very reliable high-speed internet. It's not something you have to worry about. So you got to look at it property by property, not by region. You're not going to be able to narrow it down by region.
That's a great point. So it's not a regional thing. It's kind of practically a property thing, right? If you're in like a little subdivision, you're going to probably be fine. But if you're, like you said, half a mile up from that subdivision, in that same area, and you might be lucky if you have electricity and water.
Like all utilities, right? The utility companies will service where there's enough density to make it make sense to run poles and lines there. And if there isn't enough density, then the service isn't available.
Yeah. well.
But nowadays with satellite internet and stuff, I know people that live off the grid with satellite internet and watch Netflix and have no issues with video calls or anything like that. So unless you're doing some really heavy duty uploading and downloading, pretty much wherever you go, you can get some type of service that's pretty much all you're going to need from normal home use.
Yeah. So in this case, Kim is going to be a remote worker. So a remote work. I don't know if that home use. I don't know if that qualifies as home use or for basically office use. But I would think for a remote worker, you'd kind of want to have perhaps a more reliable connection. You don't want to if you're going to be on Zoom meetings all day long, you don't want the old the stuttering of the audio and things of that nature. Reliability is important, but the long and the short that I'm hearing you say, Dylan, is like, hey, make sure that you're in a kind of a residential area. Heidi or Scott, I don't know if there's anything you guys want to add to that. I think it's the basic idea. Is there anything that's different on Maui or Oahu as far as that goes? I don't. No. Okay. All right.
I would say if you want to do the tester, what you do is you go out to that property and then you see if you can join the live stream show here from wherever that property is. And if you can, then you're pretty much all good.
There you go. That's it. Or either that or send Scott out on location. Like I think you were on location once for one show, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah. Okay. And actually, Scott, that's funny. Okay. So let's move on. Here, let's see. We got a few more. Okay. Let's take a quick comment from Kinaya because it's relative to the 3 bananas rating. It may be private, but someone in the cohort. So we don't have to reveal who it is. We just talk about the story. Someone in the cohort said that they had closed on a home due to Scott's relationships. In other words, the deal was closed even though the cohort member didn't make the highest offer. I wonder if Scott can share anything. Scott, I think we know who Kinaya is referring to. Can you tell us a little bit of a story? If I recall that you helped them find a condo and but they weren't the highest bidder, but they got the house anyway. How did that work? And why is it important? This really underscores why the relationships mean everything. Go, Scott.
Yeah, so I would more put it this way. I mean, I educate the clients just like we're doing here. It's a very honest conversation and a strategic plan, and we get prepared and we get ready for being able to put in offers. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years, and I do networking events and things like that to build those relationships with other realtors within the community. So I have respect in the community. It's not necessarily about me and my relationship. We obviously have to be competitive in price and terms and things like that, but that's a part of that education and that planning process. So when we submitted the offer, I had the conversation with the other agent that I'd done a deal with 6 months ago, and we both have a high respect for each other and how we conduct our business and carry ourselves and things such as that. And the lender that I was working with on this deal, he's worked with her as well for almost 20 years. So just that combination, the sellers wanted to sell. There were 6 sellers, and we weren't the highest price, and we didn't have the biggest down payment, and we didn't have the biggest appraisal clause, but they chose us because of the relationships that he knew I had prepared my client, is essentially what it got to. So he knew that my client was making a sound decision when putting in that offer, so they were comfortable being able to accept that contract.
So I want to just kind of I'll dig a little bit into that, Scott, because here's what I'm hearing, right? What I'm hearing is that it wasn't financially on paper, it wasn't the best, it wasn't the highest offer, et cetera, but you got the deal anyway, and it wasn't because of your striking good looks that you got the deal, although you do have striking good looks, especially when you wear those cool sunglasses. But it to me, it sounds like because of the relationships, because of the trust of this network, the seller inevitably must have felt that this was the best deal for them to take, despite the fact that it may not have been the highest deal or whatever. This was the best deal for them net-wise in terms of pain, in terms of ease of transaction, ease of close, all those things all added up to this was the best deal. It's not just about the money. There's a lot of other things, and those other things need relationships to come out. That's kind of what I'm catching.
Yeah, exactly. The listing agent went to bat for us is what it came down to, and it was because of all that, because of the experience and things.
Now, we kind of touched on this topic last week a little bit at our last show when we talked about a sort of a survival guide to the current market. Heidi was not there. So I kind of wanted Heidi, I want to ask you a question, is that, one of the things that we brought up at the last show was that, and Scott just kind of re-illustrated that the importance of relationships and why you really kind of want to work with somebody who's got a good network and kind of built up. I hate to put you, I don't want to put you on the spot, Heidi, but you're pretty good about this kind of stuff. Do you have a story? Can you bring us give us a story, Heidi, of a recent transaction that you closed, just to give us some context in terms of, look, it's not just based on price alone. There's more things that go into that, and you can win you can buy a home with a good network of relationships. It doesn't have to be the highest bid all the time. Can you give us a story that from your own personal experience of something that you know about that illustrates that idea?
Well, I think what I can share is kind of why that is too, because I mean, your first thought might be, well, why wouldn't the seller just want the highest price? But for the seller, there's also an added cost in a transaction when they pick the wrong offer, and then that buyer is difficult to deal with, or that buyer cancels, and then they go to another buyer, and then that buyer cancels, and then people start to think something's wrong with the property. And I've definitely had that happen. I've experienced this on Maui where I feel like my buyer's offer was selected because they knew that I was educating the buyer about the property and had experience selling at this property. Especially with oceanfront properties and vacation rentals. I mean, sometimes people are looking online, they're not really familiar with what they're buying, and then they get in contract and cancel. And that can cost the seller time and money too. So, I mean, that's why it is really important from a seller standpoint to look at not only the price and terms, but how educated are these people about the property? How likely is this transaction going to close? Because that ultimately benefits the seller in the end. So, I mean, I think that's why it's really important.
Actually, something that you just brought up, Heidi, maybe made me realize something that Dylan has mentioned several times, which is that the Hawaii, the standard contract for real estate in Hawaii significantly favors the buyer. The buyer can basically kind of back out, kind of anywhere along the way. So I can definitely see huge value. This kind of really ties it in for me now. I just got my big aha moment here that, knowing if the seller knows the buyer and the buyer's agent, and they know that the buyer's agent has educated the buyer, which means that their chance of backing out of the transaction is low. That's got more value than just the price, because you could always back out. But if you're working on the other side and it's going to be solid, it's a solid offer, you're not going to back out on it. That kind of really changes everything. Dylan, is there anything you want to add to that, to this conversation?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I think it was a week ago, my brother wrote an offer on a house that had 10 offers and got the offer accepted, mainly based on writing a good offer, but also having a relationship with that listing agent. Because in a multiple offer situation for a seller, it's an overwhelming situation, right? You got 10, 14-page offers to look at with all of these different terms. They're in the most cases, they're going to trust their listing agent, right? And they hired that person to help them and trust their advice. And all things being equal, they're going to rely on that person's advice to tell them which offer is the best one, because they've looked at them and compared them. And so it doesn't always come down to price. And even if it does, sometimes when you have a good relationship with the listing agent, that listing agent will come back to you if they want to work with you instead of somebody else and say, hey, if you guys will increase your price by 10,000, we'll go with you, and then you can go back to your buyer and say, hey, if it's a $900,000 house, I mean, 10 grand is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things, right? If you really want that house, and they might give you a tip on what you got to do to modify your offer to get selected. So those are the kind of things that can make those small differences when you're in a really crowded, busy, crazy multiple offer situation. And a stat that illustrates this, right, is this just came out. 91% of real estate commissions are collected by the top 50% of realtors, right? So the bottom 50% of realtors are fighting over 9% of the real estate commissions. And so what that means is that when you're in that bottom 50%, nobody knows who you are or what you do, or even if you do it full time, because there's a lot of people that, you know, have a license that may do 1 or 2 deals a year. So the reality is a name on the bottom of your contract of who your realtor is matters. I mean, it's one of the many things in the contract that matters. But when you're somebody that the other agent on the other side knows, likes, and trusts, and knows it'll do your job, right? That you don't have another full-time job and you're not going to answer the phone and do the inspections and meet the deadlines and all the things that got to happen through the process, that stuff makes a difference. So absolutely, the relationships can be a determining factor.
Great story. So Kanaya, we did an extended discussion for you on that one. I think it was a great question, Kanaya, that you had, and I appreciate your response here on the answer. This is a big deal for everybody, especially now the stakes are higher than they've ever been in. I appreciate you guys all rolling this out. All right, let's kind of wrap this up. We got about 10 minutes to go, and let's go to one of my favorite parts of the show here, the diamonds and deals. This is an aspirational part of the show. I've asked Dylan and Heidi and Scott to give us their properties, either a diamond property or a deal, or sometimes both. Let's move on to this one. Let's go to this 2-bedroom, 2-bath Park Lane condo. I don't even know what island this is right now. Is this whose is this? Is this your, Scott? Okay. Who's going to take this one? 2-bedroom, 2-bath Park Lane condo for the low price of $4.388 million. Whose is this one?
That's mine. Yeah, this is right attached on the front side of Ala Moana Shopping Center, which is like the largest outdoor mall in the world. But so yeah, it's 6 stories of tower units. They're huge. They were designed basically kind of to take the place of a single family home. You walk out your back door, you can go through the back way and get right into the mall area if you want to. But tons of amenities. This is probably one of our highest end luxury premier condos on the island. You walk across the street, you're looking out over across Ala Moana Beach Park, so you can walk across the street and be at the beach park. Super convenient, but luxury residences. This is 1,600 square feet, 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 2 parking for $4.388 million, and the maintenance fee on it's $2,262 a month. But every amenity you can think of under the sun. The interesting thing during COVID was all the amenities and all that. I mean, some of these have private pools in them as well. So you got 2 levels. Effectively, you got 2 levels of parking, and then the residents start, and they're set back a little bit, so you get buffered a little bit from the street noise, and have these awesome views looking out across Ala Moana Beach Park.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know what you're looking at, especially if you look at this big shot, you can see the beautiful ocean ahead of you. That ocean is Ala Moana Beach Park ahead of you, right across the street from the beach park. It's an amazing location. Yeah, thanks, Scott. Go ahead.
Look at that pool in the upper right. I mean, it's like living at a resort. It's insane. Yeah,
it's incredible. Yeah, beautiful stuff. Great. Jim Stevenson, this one's for you, buddy. This is your condo, Jim. We're going to wait to party at Jim's house when he gets over here. Islander Ohana meet up at Jim's. All right. What do we got? Wait, and not to be outdone, we have the 5-bedroom, 5-bath in Kona Bay Estates for $6.8 million. Dylan, oh my God, is this a hotel or is this a house? This is so cool. I love this.
Yeah, it looks like a hotel. It's got that resort feel pretty much. And if you can see that picture on the top right, I mean, it just opens up. The water is right there. And this is right in the heart of Kona Town. Very unique area, gated neighborhood. There's probably only 30 or 40 homes in this neighborhood, but it's right along a place called Baby Ponds, which is like a bunch of tide pools, sandy tide pools. So that's right in front of where the property is at. But just killer location. I mean, just a stunning property. And hey, what a deal, right? If the condo is going to cost you $4 million, why not just spend $7 million on a property like this on the Big Island?
Hey, what's an additional $2 million between friends, right?
That's right.
I mean, I'm looking at that view. That what shows up on my screen is the upper left, which is that over? It looks like a living room kind of a thing overlooking Is it overlooking the tide pool? Is that the
No. So it's like a living room overlooking your private pool, and then right behind that is the shoreline and the water. So
okay, so it's a private pool in front of us. Okay, I see. And then there's the shoreline ahead of that. Wow, that's. I mean, I'm just trying to imagine, life kind of sipping a coffee there in the morning, or having a drink at night and seeing an insane Kona sunset. That's just like, oh my God, that's crazy. Truly a diamond. All right. Let's see what's next here. Hold on a second. Do we miss something? Heidi, do I have I don't have Do I have a slide from you, Heidi, or no? No, I don't.
I put one in.
Okay, let me see if I could find it. I
I
can't.
think hers was hidden because it was
It's
she
hidden.
wasn't on
That's right.
last week.
That's
Yeah.
right. Okay, hold on. That's all right. That's why God made Google. Hold on. Stand by. We'll get Heidi's property for a sec. Let me get this here because we got to show Heidi's property. We're not going to miss that. So give me a thought here. Give me a second here, Heidi. I did unhide it. Stand by, everybody, while we have these technical. There we go. There we go. All right, Heidi. We got the 430 Manawai place in Haiku, Maui for 3 point. Who would have thought that Dylan got the high price on today's show? Heidi, what are we looking at, Heidi?
Well, we're looking at the deal today compared to the other two properties that we just looked at.
Yeah, you're not kidding.
At 3945, this is an oceanfront home in Haiku, which is on the north coast of Maui in the Peahi area, which is close to big wave surfing. It's located kind of out on a cliff, and it's a really interesting home. It's very Balinese style. You have these big hand-hewn timbers and teak wood. And as you can see from the pictures, amazing ocean views all around. So
this seems like high up on the mountain, kind of a higher mountain kind of property. Is that what this is?
yeah, it's on a cliff, so you can't walk right down to the beach, but I mean, it's a phenomenal standpoint for looking at the ocean. And
oh my God, I can imagine the views here have got to be absolutely insane. Yeah, cool. Well, Kinaya says we're a couple of years out, but this is my crew. That's it. This is the crew. You got it, Kinaya, and we got you no matter what island that you decide on. We've got you covered. Awesome. All right, gang. Why don't we let's move on to our we're coming to a close, which is perfect. So let's kind of let's wrap it up with our closing thoughts, and we're going to kind of go down the line over here. Dylan, Heidi, and Scott. Dylan, give us your closing thought, buddy.
So the closing thought for this week is make positive actions a habit, and the reason for that is this week I started with my team a 5 minutes at 5 a.m. call. So we had some folks that wanted some help with accountability and getting up early and starting their morning routine, whether that's exercise, meditation, praying, whatever it is, starting off with a positive action throughout the day and doing it in your own personal time before the craziness of the day takes over. So that's our positive habit that we started this week.
Oh, love it. So you guys, so the crew who wants to participate gets up at 5 o'clock for a 5-minute phone call.
If anybody on here wants to participate, I'll send you the link. It's a Google Meet. You just jump on. We share a positive thought. It's a 5-minute call at 5:10 a.m. So it's 5:10 to 5:15. So you have time to get out of bed at 5 and wash your face before you get on the video call.
Oh man, awesome. Okay, all right, gang. Look, the link's in the description. Click on the link, and you'll let us know, and I'll connect you in with Dylan and you two. But it's kind of cheating, right? Because 5 a.m. Hawaii is like what? It's only 8 a.m. It's 8 a.m. LA time. It's 11 a.m. New York time. So Jim Stevenson, you're in New York. This is for you. You got the 11 a.m. call. So yeah, Heidi, what's your closing thought that you want to share today?
Well, I just love what Dylan said. Dylan, will you call me at 5 a.m? It is just so important to stay grounded. Of course, being in real estate, I'm working with a lot of buyers and sellers, and as we know, the market's bananas. But it's important to just really stay grounded and stay sane and make good decisions about where the market is right now. I mean, all we really have is where we are in this moment and making the best decisions, and just don't get caught up about, being worried about where the market was in the past or the future, and just be in the now and make the best possible decision and be confident in what you're doing.
Live in the now and be confident about what you're doing. There's a great Bible verse about that where Jesus says, "Don't worry about the next day. Worry about for today, and tomorrow will take care of itself." Great one. So we got a quick thing from Gil here. Gil says the homes look awesome. I might to buy this when I hit the lotto. Any chance you would show homes next time that are in a $600,000 to $700,000 range? There ain't no homes in a $600,000 to $700,000 range, Gil. That's what we've been telling you. The median price on Oahu is $900,000. No, just JK. Listen, Gil, what I would suggest seriously is throw a thing in the form, depending on what on that you want to look at, and we'll connect you with Dylan or Heidi or Scott to find something right for you. Tom is like 4 p.m. That's because Tom's in the UK. So yeah, Tom, easy peasy. Yeah, get the 5 a.m. call. Joyce, Auntie Joyce, we love you too. We're so glad that you're a part of our Ohana here, Auntie Joyce. You all just make my day. Love you all. And that's that. So good. Yeah. So Tom, yeah, I think you'll be up by then. So thanks everybody. And Kanaya, I think you hit the enter key a little too soon. So resend that message to us so I could kind of publish it. Scott, what's your closing thought for today?
Don't mistake movement for achievement. We all get busy in lives and we have our checklist and we go through it every day. But if you're looking at making the move over here, you gotta actually have actionable items that start moving you in that direction. And I say that because last weekend when we got together with the cohort, for me was an amazing experience because a lot of the people have been here on the show and asked questions, and we've spoken with them, and in particular you, Peter, have had a huge influence on being able to see people on that journey to finally getting here, and they have almost an instant support system. And I thought it was just amazing to see all these people here that I've chatted with. You've had way more influence on. Here they are. They're all here. They're finding success in being here on Oahu, and they're going on that journey, and we're a part of that. And that's a really good feeling. It's really amazing, and the work that you're doing is incredible. And I noticed it. I really could see it that day. It was something special.
Hey, thanks, man. I appreciate you saying that. I guess I'll use my time on the closing thought to comment about that. Yeah, I mean, it was for me. It actually was a dream come true. It really was, because I was for the longest time. And Dylan, you talk about your 5 a.m. your 5 minutes at 5 a.m. So I've been getting up at 6:45 every morning during the week, Monday through Friday. I've been getting up at 6:45 in the morning and spending 2 hours every single morning on working on this project. And I've been doing that for 5 years. So it's been a 5-year journey. And to see the Islander Ohana members come together, because we've all had these common classes, right? Because we've got these online courses. There's 5 online courses. We meet 5 separate times every other week. So like a 10-week period, and to kind of see a pretty sizable group. I think we had like 15. I want to say 15, 20 people, maybe whatever, something like 15, 20 people were there. And they had made it. They were here. They were on the island. It was so much fun. We had a great time. And you can't go wrong on Makapu'u Beach, right? You can't go wrong in my view on the most beautiful place on earth. And it was a great moment. So hey, I want to thank you all. Let's go clockwise around. I want to give you a great aloha. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. I appreciate it. Dylan, Heidi, Scott, say goodbye to everybody and say hello to everybody.
Aloha, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Aloha.
Aloha, everyone. Thanks for checking us out.
Aloha, everyone. Talk to you all later. We'll see you all in 2 weeks. Aloha.